When I was living in Austin, driving a cab back in the 90s
You drove a cab?
for a couple of years. Yeah.
No shit. I did not know that.
Yeah. I've done a number of different things over the years.
Yes, but prostitute is not on there, right? Never mind. Continue. Howdy, folks, and welcome to episode 470 of the Dead Robot Society. Paul E. Cooley here, and as always, my wingman. Can I call you my wingman?
Sure. Knock yourself out.
All right, we'll call you my literary wingman. God, he hates that term. Terry Mixon. How you doing, Terry?
Yes, I am the goose of literary wingmen.
I thought you were more of the pate.
Sorry, that was a Top Gun reference.
Okay, I'm with you. Does that make me Maverick?
I'm afraid it does.
I'm too goddamn tall and too damn ugly to be Tom Cruise's stand.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and just be Iceman then?
Iceman? I'm still too goddamn tall. Too damn
I don't know. What was the actor that played
Val Kilmer?
Val Kilmer? He seems like he's pretty tall when you see him on the screen.
Well, that's because they put him up to fight, up next to, 5'2" Tom Cruise. That's why he looks really tall.
Well, if Tom would just get on top of the couch, this wouldn't be a problem.
Why do you think he got on top of the couch? You need to make sure he could actually be seen over Oprah.
Talk about never living something down. Wow. I wonder if he looks back and goes, yeah, I probably shouldn't have been so over the top.
Yeah, too much cocaine will do that to you, but that's what I hear anyway.
I don't think that cocaine was his issue, but I would have absolutely paid to see what's his name take enough wolf's blood to go ahead and make that tiger's blood to make that happen. God, what is his name?
Tiger's blood.
Yeah, the one that did 2.5 Men.
Oh, Charlie Sheen.
Charlie Sheen. I'd pay him to be all whacked out and jump on a couch. He'd probably fall over the back and break his neck, but it would be fun to watch.
Yeah, I can think of better things to do. Like ask you, how's your writing going, man?
Oh, shit.
Yep, gonna be a great episode.
I am on deadline to get this book done. I had really hoped to get it done by today or tomorrow. Yeah, that's not happening. So it's going to be done by the 5th. And it better damn well be done by the 5th because the hard deadline for it is the 10th. That's when it goes to the editor.
Mm-hmm.
So time is running out.
Time is running out. Those pesky deadlines always give people problems.
Time keeps on slipping into the future.
If you don't know that song, go look up Steve Miller right now. And by the way, you're too goddamn young. Anyway, you haven't heard enough classic rock from the 70s. So basically not much to report other than grinding on the current project.
That's it. And life keeps getting in the way. Contractors coming out, things that have to be done. I've got things that have to be done this weekend that's going to interfere with it. We've got to empty out our garage so that stuff that's coming in over the next week can actually go into the garage. It's, why can't real life let me write, damn it?
Well, you could just drop a whole ton of caffeine between the hours of 11 p.m. and 5 in the morning, take a half-hour cat nap, and then be up for, the rest of the shit.
Apparently you haven't tried to be productive when you're as tired as I get. I'm not exactly productive when I'm not feeling good.
Yeah.
So if I'm exhausted, which yesterday was a day where I didn't do any writing because I was just so tired that I actually, was it today? No, I slept in today till 11 o'clock because I was just so exhausted. I had to play catch up.
But was it Heinz ketchup or was it Hunt's ketchup?
I'm not a ketchup guy, so just select your thing of choice. Run with it.
Wow. Are you sure you're American?
Maybe I should, have mayonnaise with my fries and prove that I'm not. Isn't that something they do in France? They have mayonnaise with their fries. I'm not
I
sure.
never saw that. I can't stand mayonnaise. So
There is some place that has mayonnaise with their fries, and I don't know if that's someplace in the United States or it's someplace elsewhere. And I heard that I was like, that is so weird.
it's disgusting, is what it is. But the guy I used to know in high school put mustard and mayonnaise on his pizza. Oh, God.
That's horrifying.
I was horrified. I couldn't even watch him eat that. It was just like, oh.
I'm looking. I've got to know where that is.
See, this is why Terry needs to not be in front of a computer with an internet connection, because he thinks of these thoughts and then has to go look them up.
I'm thinking it's somewhere in Europe that's common. Just based on glancing at the search screen.
Anything's possible.
Anything is possible. So let that be a note for you if you're researching. Make sure that people don't eat really strange things where you're talking about going. Or if they do, make sure and include it in your story.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's more fodder for craziness. Especially if you're trying to describe a character who's always up on the hip things. Well, they eat mayonnaise with their French fries in France.
I know that there was a Bruce Willis movie where he's a thief, and I can't remember what it is now. But
please don't say Hudson Hawk. Please don't say Hudson.
It is Hudson Hawk.
Movie.
I remember.
So bad.
I remember him ordering something in French and then adding at the end, "Oh, and put ketchup on it" in English, and much of the maitre d' just totally flip out.
Yeah, like I'll put ketchup on a prime piece of steak. Yeah, that's a killing offense down here in Texas. That's a killing offense.
Oh,
you go to the judge and like, well, the man was putting ketchup on his steak. Case dismissed. Bam. Rightful homicide.
Justifiable homicide.
Justifiable homicide. You go home, Hoss. All done.
Sheriff Roscoe P. Coltrane, you take him away.
Oh, God. Okay. That was a little frightening. That sounded way too close to how I remember that jackass talking.
I watched entirely too many episodes of that show.
I watched the shit out of that show when it was on when I was a kid because it was so ridiculous. But
Luke and Bo Duke will save the day.
Yeah, keep in mind, listeners, these are you guys who used to watch Hee Haw back in the 70s. So
it's totally true.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
But in my defense, I had to watch Hee Haw because my parents watched Hee Haw.
Same here. It was yeah. It was like, well, if you wanted to watch TV, that's what was on. For better or worse, that's what was on. Oh, maybe that's why I hate
despair and agony on me.
Maybe that show is why I can't.
Depression, excessive misery. If it weren't for bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. Oh, Jesus. Take us away from this trip down memory lane, Paul. What have you been up to writing-wise?
Okay, I'll try and come up with something to distract me from hearing that voice again. Yeah, you're banned from doing that ever again.
I'll add it to my list of things that I never should do again, but
Yeah.
I'm going to do it anyway.
That list is getting longer every episode.
It's totally true. I should start a Facebook page of things my co-host has told me I can't do anymore.
Let's see. Do an episode while crunching ice.
Carry on. Writing. What are you doing, bud?
I got the final edits for Gares Inferno done. I put those. I spent time yesterday and Sunday cobbling all that together. I've got the final draft done that I'm ready to read from, and I got like 2 things to sort out in description land because we changed a couple things. So, and I was told one description was very vague and awkward, so I got to go back and look at that. But other than that, Gares Inferno is pretty much done. And I'm sure we'll talk about that during the later. Anyway, so I'm preparing to record that monster, and still working up on Derelict. I wrote, I don't know, 600 or 700 words today while I was waiting for my oil change to get done. And that was kind of cool finishing a chapter that fast. It just kind of roared out. So it was nice. And then David Wood contacted me and was like, hey, you want to be part of a horror anthology we're putting together? Okay. Can I have Closet Treats? Okay. So Closet Treats is showing up in a horror anthology. It's 10 different books by 10 different authors. That should be out, I think, later today or tomorrow. So it'll be a bundle deal. I think it's 10 books for like 99 cents or something. So I'll put that out there when it comes time.
Woohoo!
So, yeah, I mean it's not like it's going to make any money, but you know the bottom line is, or make me any money. The bottom line is, if it gets a few more readers to check out my stuff, then that's awesome. So, and hopefully people will also enjoy the other books in there by Rick Chesler and some of the usual suspects. So, we'll see how all that works. I need to go back and look at
Usual Suspects.
the usual suspects. Yeah, you know, folks David Wood knows or has published.
He knows everybody.
He does know a lot of folks. He does know a lot of folks. And yet we're the only two that I know of that he makes memes about.
It's because he likes us.
Is
or
that
perhaps
what
he
it is?
hates us. I'm not sure.
I'm thinking it's the latter, not the former. So in conjunction with that, I've got, man, I'm really itching to get Derelict done so I can move on to another book. Really itching to get this thing done so I can move
How
forward.
close are you?
What are we at? We're near 60 grand, 60K now. I think there's probably 25 to 30K more of story, but it's hard to tell. And I'm still not entirely sure how I'm going to wrap up certain parts, and it may require another book.
Everyone dies. Every single swinging dick dies. You've never heard that phrase before?
Yes, I have heard that phrase before, and I'm not going to dignify that with a comment. Because y'all always give me that guff, and yet when Gare's Inferno comes out, you'll see the body count is relatively low. Sort of.
If everyone doesn't die, people are going to be asking who you are and what you've done with the real
I
Paul.
know. I said that when I finished Gare's Inferno, I was like, man, I'm going to get accused of losing my edge or selling out. Although the comments I heard from everybody was like, man, we were expecting you to kill everybody. And we were so happy when you didn't. So I guess I did something right. Hopefully that book will sell, and then I can, justify a few more books in that universe from that standpoint. But regardless, I'm going to write them anyway. So we'll see how all this shakes out. So day job is still kind of kicking around. It really kicked my ass last week, so I'm happy to be over that. Hopefully it won't kick my ass again later this week, which it could.
I saw you posting the out of character comments, off topic comments about having issues with the application you're working on. Did you ever sort that out?
Part of it was PepCac.
That sounds like something a cat would hurl up on the carpet.
PepCac is problem exists between keyboard and chair.
Okay. Was it you in the chair or the developer in the chair?
Neither.
Uh-oh. Okay. Whose chair was this in between?
The person who complained about the problem.
So there wasn't really a problem.
Well, there is and there's not. Basically, what it comes down to is at some point your device becomes so old that it can't handle new hotness.
Okay.
So
that's happened to, old guys here in the U.S. for forever.
I'm not even going to comment on that. Anyway, that's why Viagra was there, right? So
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, on that note. Well, Terry, it's Halloween.
It is indeed.
It is October 31st when we are recording this, and we, or maybe it was just me, invited a certain person who's been on this show before to come on and talk about all sorts of crazy stuff. In fact, Terry made the mistake of asking him what he wanted to talk about, and thus we entered the Twilight Zone.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
anyway,
think you don't know this yet, but You'll find out later tonight. He privately messaged me and said he's coming to your house to TP it tonight.
I wouldn't put it past him. If he didn't live in North Carolina, that would be a nightly thing. Anyway, let's get over to that and let you all bask in the glory and insanity. And today we have joining us a very special guest, short bus special to be sure, author of the Apex trilogy, Rourke, Zeburbia, the Mega series, and all sorts of other stuff, including his new novel, Black Box Inc. Please welcome my nemesis to the show, Jake Bible.
Howdy. Thanks for having me on.
Is he still your nemesis? I mean, seriously, isn't that fight over with already?
Yeah, I think he won.
I think he won.
Woohoo! All right.
I couldn't keep
It's
up with him.
official.
I couldn't keep up with him. He's a much faster writer than I am, and probably better too. But
yeah, you didn't get the
Guy.
memo. Yeah, the memo was quantity. Quantity was going to win. That's all there is.
Quantity was going to win, not quality,
yeah, not
or
quality,
actual brain power.
No, exactly. There's most of my novels. There's nothing in there. It's all just empty pages, actually.
It's just empty pages. Like, the last Zeburbia just had 2 words in it. The end. That was it.
Yeah, exactly.
That was it.
Really, when you get to book 4, you don't really have to write anything. You just kind of, fill it with whatever. There you
just
go.
kind of shit on the page. Just wipe your ass on the page.
Exactly.
Are you listening to this, listeners?
Yeah.
Pay attention, listeners. This is golden advice here.
This is the trick. This is success in the business.
If he's wiping his butt with it, it's pretty much the opposite of golden. You got to go around to the other side.
Oh yeah. Anyway, Jake, what is your current novel count? Do you even have a clue?
Jeez. I think with Black Box Inc., I'm pretty sure that's number 47 published. And then I think I just turned in, I think, my 53rd manuscript. Yes.
The Wikipedia page must be awesome.
I hate you so much. God. Hate.
If they all sold, all at the same time, right now, then that would be awesome. But,
yeah.
There's a reason I've got 46
books
published. Once again, quantity. That's how we
go with that quantity over quality thing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
your motto is, "What have you done for me lately?"
Yeah, pretty much.
So
my career is built on volume.
This is really interesting. You've been working with small presses like Severed for a long time now. I guess 4 years?
Yes. Yeah. 4 years. 5 years.
Has it been 5 years?
Yeah, it's been 5 years because they republished the Apex trilogy in 2012, and then 2013 is when I did Zeburbia.
Wow.
So that was the first novel. Zeburbia was the first novel I wrote for them. But yeah, so Apex trilogy, was when I started with them, and that was 2012.
And now Black Box Inc. is through Bellbridge.
Yes, Bellbridge Books. Yeah, because it's urban fantasy, and Bellbridge definitely dabbles more in urban fantasy and that kind of stuff. And Severed doesn't really do that. So that's kind of, this was just an idea I had and they liked, and so Bellbridge picked it up, and now we're going to see where it goes.
Now I have to buy this stupid thing.
When are you going to find time to read it again, Paul?
That's a really good question. That's a really good question.
I know that it's a struggle for me trying to find time to actually put aside reading time.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you have that problem too?
Oh, audiobooks. I listen to audiobooks as I do all the chores and housework and mow the lawn and cook and drive, and anything where I can't actually be sitting down and doing something else, I'll have an audiobook going. I barely read actual physical books anymore.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat now.
Yeah.
It is kind of crazy. Plus because I can't afford but 1 credit a month right now, I'm buying like these mammoth Golgothic humongous things like Stephen King's It or something like that, listening to it and going, oh, I better listen to this again. And then find all the things that I like about it and all the things Terry would hate about it.
You actually make a list of them, don't you?
I have a mental list of when Stephen King says something and goes on for an hour and a half, and I'm sitting there going, Terry would stop reading this. And he'd miss all these glorious details and description and all this character building stuff because he's just too goddamn OCD, ADHD. I have no idea what it is.
Stephen King, fuck that guy.
Yeah. Was he now?
Fuck that guy. He's written almost as many books as you have, Jake.
he's beat me. He's written more than me. Okay, you know, we'll give him that. We can give Stephen King that. He's written 70 novels, I think now. So so at some point one will hit. He'll get a career. It'll happen.
Yeah, the thing
is, keep going, Stevie. You just keep going.
Most of his books are like over 200,000 words minimum.
Yeah.
Door stops.
Yeah.
Do you write door stops, Jake?
I do not. You can stack a few of my books together, and then become a
create a door stop.
Yeah, no. Now mine average about 75,000 words. So
about 75,000. What is that? Is that conscious, or is that just how long the story is?
Yeah, it's conscious, just because that's what I realized. I could write a 75,000 word novel in a month, in 4 weeks. So that's how that I realized that's the speed I write at. So that's the length the novels ended up being, so that I could just churn out some pulp and get it out there and make a living. So I mean, really, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Are you still trying to do a book a month, or have you slowed down a little?
I've definitely slowed down. I mean, I'm not hitting a book a month, but when I write a book, it's 4 weeks. I'll write, I'll write the first draft in 3 weeks and then take a week of editing, and then it's off and gone. But life and circumstances and dealing with other publishers, other than Severed. So with Bellbridge, they're very traditional in how they do things. So I'm getting a story editor and then a copy editor and then the proof reading back. And so there's so many, there's things that get, things, the maintenance of the job and all of that, other than just creating the book, that gets in the way. So, that takes a few days to, you get the copy edits back. You've got to go over that thing with a fine-tooth comb and make sure that, it's how you want it to be. So that's usually 3 or 4 days. So that'll throw off a schedule real fast.
Oh yeah. Big time.
Yeah. So
how does that work with you? What's the difference between, I guess maybe that's the wrong question. You just explain what the difference is. Which are you more comfortable with after going through this process? Because this is the first novel, to my knowledge, that you've written that has gone through a more traditional process.
The first novel I did with Bellbridge was Stone Cold Bastards, and that was
that's right.
Yeah, and end of the world gargoyles, demons battle thing. Yeah. And but this was the second one, and it's I don't know. I mean, they have their pros and cons. My like, I write fast. I have no patience whatsoever. So dealing with Severed is great because I can crank that thing out, send it off to them, boom, get the proofreading back, go over it, send it back, and it's out there in the world, ready to go, ready to sell. Which, I absolutely love that fact. But then on the other hand, Bellbridge, taking the time, it's from when I turned in the manuscript to when it's published is easily probably 6 to 9 months, right in there, 6 months ish. Not the full year that a lot of traditional publishers do. But I think that's more because they're compromising with me because I'm used to working fast. So like, we can do 6 months. It's like, okay.
And you get this visual of them running around like hamsters in a wheel to make this happen.
Exactly. Ah!
By the time they finish publishing the first one, you sent them 5 more, and they're like, "What? Stop it!"
Well, what's funny is when they send me back the first story edits, it's been so long since I wrote that thing. I'm like, what? What is this?
What is this book?
What does this note mean? I don't even know who this character is. What are you talking about? I got to read this whole thing just so I know what the hell
Why
these
does
notes
this
even mean.
Why does this book have my name on it? I don't remember writing this thing.
Exactly. Yeah, this is a great idea. Someone should write this. Wow.
It's like Veronica. She asked me about a character. Does this character's voice sound like this? And I'm sitting here going, "Who the hell is that?"
Exactly.
It's kind of scary. I know Jake's been through this with Apex. You had so many characters. It's like, do you have a glossary somewhere? Because
yeah,
it's getting to be like that. I imagine Terry's going to have like an entire Wikipedia before this is over with, just based on one series.
Yeah,
I've already changed characters' planets' names, ship names. Oh, I've screwed up so many damn things because I don't have a story Bible. I'm trying to build one as I go, but yeah.
He destroyed the wrong planet once. I mean, it's just awful.
It happens.
I hate it when I destroy the wrong planet.
Just get a visual of Grand Moff talking, going, "Oops,
oops." You just took out the Emperor's, sunny paradise home. Oops.
Yep.
We're moving along, and we will never speak of this again.
Nobody say nothing.
Keep walking.
It just disappeared. That's all you need to know. It's all good and groovy. That's it.
Yeah, my last Roke novel, I went through the entire novel with one of the antagonists using a specific weapon, and it was the wrong weapon. I had the wrong name.
Oh, no.
What I had, the description in my head was working for the whole story, so it really wasn't like a nightmare editing. It was like, oh, I really just have to go in and switch the name. That's it. Yeah, and that was it. But it was like about 90% of the way done, and I went, wait, that is, damn it.
I hate shit like that. Like when I get the final edits back for Garrus Inferno, I'm gonna have to make sure that the scars are on the correct side the entire way through.
Oh yeah, because I've got characters that are like missing an ear, and I have to constantly go back. Yeah, I have to go back to notes, and I'm like, which ear? What am I? Left ear. Left ear. Okay.
It always reminds me of Robin Hood Men in Tights when the king's mole kept moving around. You know.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yep. I can't remember what the actor's name is, but shit, that was funny stuff.
Or you got a guy with an eye patch and it just switches sides, maybe in the same scene.
And then you pull it up and realize the eye's actually there and functional. It's just done for fashion's sake.
Yep.
An inside joke, so to speak. You just keep changing it and to see if people notice.
Yeah, there you go.
Just mess with the readers. I mean, they love it, right? They love it.
Oh, they love that. They love that stuff. They don't put that in reviews at all.
No.
No, that never. You don't get emails
you don't
on
get
that.
pissy emails from people correcting every part of your science that's wrong.
Just thought I'd be helpful and let you know, just in case you weren't aware. I love it when the email starts that way, and I'm like, oh, you gotta be shitting me.
Is there actually that links up a related question? Is there a maximum number of the times you can use the word fuck in one chapter?
Not for Jake.
No. There isn't. There's no maximum.
Let's see.
You can ask the reviewers on In Perpetuity what they think about that.
Exactly. They loved that.
238 fucks or something like that.
It was so many. It was 400 and something. It was huge.
God.
Yeah, it was nuts. I mean, come on. It's like a Space Marine training facility. So
I can assure you,
I actually toned it down.
Allow me to assure you, as somebody that actually served in the Army back in the 1980s, every third word out of your mouth is fuck.
Yeah. And there's someone named Jake Bible. Every third word out of my mouth is fuck.
It was really hard when I was in service to talk to my mom on the phone.
Oh,
I had to delete my conversational thing for years after I got out to stop from dropping the F-bomb on her.
No, yeah, it just cracked me up. All the negative reviews in perpetuity got because of language. Like, what did you think you were signing up for?
I get them all the time. I got them with the black. I got them with derelict. Oh God, there were people in Marines who were just like, oh my God, why did you use the F-bomb? And why are there all these goddams in here?
Well, shit, you could go the other direction. I actually had a secondary character that was gay, and I immediately started getting notes about how I was buying into the gay agenda.
Yes. We both been accused of the gay
cannot
agenda.
possibly please everyone.
Have you been accused of furthering the homosexual vegan agenda? Is that what you've been accused of?
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
I've never had a homosexual vegan as a character.
That's not the point.
Why don't you take a moment and make a note?
Yeah, I know.
Homosexual vegan agenda. Look into it.
That could be interesting. No, you can't win. There is no winning. I mean, I wrote Salvage Merc 1, and I used the word faux instead of fuck because of all the reviews and everyone, being pissy about in perpetuity. So that's why that novel is so tongue-in-cheek, all that. But then I got bad reviews from people saying, why don't you just actually use the word? Oh, that's not how people in the military talk. And you can't win. You can't win. You can't win. So, just write whatever the hell you're going to write because someone's going to bitch about it.
Yep.
I had a guy recently send me this video, full video, graphics, whole 9 yards about how far away objects are in the Kuiper Belt.
Awesome.
And in Marines, or maybe it's TUM, I don't remember which, we talked about the fact that until so many years later, they had discovered that objects were not as far apart as previously thought. It's like, they just kind of skip that, or we're just like, well, here's the reality. Well, yes, the rest of it's artistic license, and there's a reason for it.
Yeah, it's called fiction.
Yeah, don't judge until you get to the end.
Yeah, no, I actually, I absolutely love when I get emails telling me that Marines or the military wouldn't act the way they would act in my books, which are set thousands of years in the future in another part of the galaxy. Oh yeah, of course. You're absolutely right. Society stayed static for 5,000 years.
Right.
Oh, and it was completely American centric. Yeah, because obviously we're the role models the future's going to be looking at.
Oh dear.
Paul has never encountered that type of behavior.
No, I have never gotten.
It's like,
beat the shit over emails about Marines don't act like this and why are there women Marines in here and all sorts of other shit. And, Marines having sex with one another destroys morale. And why are they vaping THC and everything else? I mean, that just never happens.
Yeah.
That makes me wonder, how have I avoided being criticized for how I portray the Marines in my series?
Because
nobody said a word.
Because your Marines have nothing to do with reality at all as these folks see it. You're writing space opera. It's
maybe that's it.
Yeah.
It's set too far in the future, so it's not really connected.
Yours is set in another goddamn galaxy.
It is not.
For all practical purposes, it is.
Maybe that is true, but yeah. Okay, I'll buy into that. Maybe that's true.
Wow, you just caved on that.
I did. I totally
caved. It is not. Well, okay.
I was gonna disagree with him, and then I said, no, he's right. Okay, so I'll give that.
As far as
I should have kept arguing, even when I knew I was wrong.
Yeah, but then you'd be a politician. Anyway, so what is the funniest one you have ever gotten? The most absolutely ridiculous email comment that you've ever gotten? Or review?
Oh, geez. I got
the F-bomb.
Well, yeah, there's those. I had that one review about Zburbia where the guy went off, and it was brilliant. It was a beautiful review, and Amazon took it down. People must have complained. But the one where, the guy was basically saying that I was a right-wing nut job with my right-wing agenda, throwing out all this religious stuff and killing minorities, and I must have written my book with a 45 in one hand and my dick in the other. And I was just like, wow, this is the greatest review ever. It's so far off the mark. It's unbelievable. I mean, literally, I am quite possibly the most liberal, progressive person you're going to possibly find. So just the fact that they thought that some of the conservative characters that I wrote in that book were like an image of me or something. I don't know. The projection was just off the charts, but his wording was brilliant.
Can't even.
Yeah.
In remembering that book, I don't even know what the fuck they would be talking about.
There's the when you get to the farm, there's Big Daddy, he's just really Christian conservative.
He's a cracker cannibal.
Yeah, well, no, he's not the cannibal one, but I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I honestly am not sure what it was all about, but it set that guy off, and it was just absolutely hilarious.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. I also got an email because I wrote Kaiju Winter, which centers around the the Yellowstone caldera blowing up and out come giant monsters, because why the hell not?
Well, sure.
And someone actually emailed me the science on all of that and how I was completely wrong on how any of it works. Ignoring the
fact there are giant fucking monsters coming
giant
out.
Monsters. Completely ignores all of that and tells me all my science is wrong. And I'm like,
I can buy the
literally
monsters.
no science in this book at all.
I can buy the monsters, but the way they're coming out of the caldera just doesn't make any sense. And the part where you have them wearing the part where you have them waltzing while wearing tutus, that's just not going to happen.
The blast pattern is just totally wrong.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, oh my God, it was just cracking me up, because I mean, this person was referencing all kinds of stuff, and I'm like, none of that's in there. I avoid science for this exact reason. I give just enough so that you understand the setting and what's going on, and then I walk away. I'm hands off sciences because of that. And this guy apparently read between the lines.
He knew what you were thinking.
Yeah, exactly. And I was thinking wrong. Very wrong. My thinking was off.
Bad think.
Yeah,
bad think.
Exactly.
What were you doing, you crazy man?
It was like, okay.
Yeah,
so I just, thanked him politely.
I think it is interesting how some folks react. I mean, there were people who called me on some of the things I did in the black with the oil rig, and there are other people who were like, "Wow, that's exactly how this works," or other people going, "I never knew that's how that worked."
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, but now I'm twisting the science a little bit, and people are like, "Well, that's terrible science." That was the fucking point, asshole. Yeah. You kind of missed it.
You can fall down the rabbit hole with getting into nitpicking on science or anything else. I was listening to an audiobook a couple of months ago, a post-apocalyptic one, and it started going off the rails when they had helicopters flying through hurricanes and a sniper on one oil rig in the middle of the Gulf shooting at another oil rig through a hurricane and hitting something. And I started going down the list of, okay, well, we got a problem with this and this. And I found myself falling down the rabbit hole of bitching about the entire thing, and then had to delete the post saying, that is not the guy I want to be. Where the hell did that come out of my mouth? I couldn't stop myself from writing this horrific review, and then I deleted it again.
That is why the writing was horrific, and therefore your brain just went, I gotta find a reason to stop reading this book.
Yeah, there you go.
No, sadly, I enjoyed the story. I think that's the reason I was invested, and I had to complain about it because I was invested and I was disappointed. And it's so easy to fall into that trap.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know about Jake, but or you for that matter, most of the people that send me these emails though, or leave comments on my site or on Facebook, they're enjoying the books.
Yeah.
It's like
the vast majority.
Yeah. The vast majority. Yeah. Most of them, they come back and with little science nitpicks here or there. And they're just like, look, just wanted you to know this is wrong, but I'm really enjoying the series. Where's the third book, asshole? So, and those are the kind of comments you like, where they are invested in the story enough where they can forgive, some things that you did that don't make sense to them.
The really negative reviews you get that are not that way are when you get Amazon Vine reviewers and they got their nose like this. Oh, this is simply just not literary quality.
Yeah. Funny you mentioned that, because I got an email from a Vine reviewer.
Yeah.
And what he said is, I read the first 2 Derelict books, absolutely love them. And if you'll give me a preview of the 3rd one when you finish it, I'll make sure that you get a fair review and this other kind of crap. I was like,
wow, that rocks.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
So I've kept his name around, but I didn't even know those people existed. I had no idea what Vine was. I'd never heard of it.
Yeah,
it's hard to believe, but I'd never heard of it. I had to go look it up and say, "What the hell is this?" And then went, "Oh, these are the elevated people."
Yes, it's the reviewers' cabal.
All right, Paul, you need to make. I'm making a note right now. Reviewers cabal. This is going to go into a novel right there.
Reviewers cabal. Let's see. Yeah, reviewers cabal. Amazon Vine. Gotcha.
There you go.
So have you really been slaughtered by Terry? When you say they've got their nose up in the air, why do you say that?
I can have a book come out and be getting mostly 4 and 5 stars, and then I'll get a 2-star from a Vine reviewer. They seem exceptionally critical, and so I've had bad results with Vine reviewers. Maybe that's not always the case, but there you go.
I think sometimes the Vine reviewers look at the star rating on the other reviews and then decide, this book has too many 4 and 5-star reviews.
We better fix that shit.
We're going to fix that. We're going to take it down. I'm only semi-kidding about that.
Only semi-kidding?
Yeah, I'm only semi-kidding. I actually think there might be just a hair bit of truth in that. So,
wow.
But that's my conspiracy theory, because it's a reviewers cabal, so there has to be conspiracy theory to go with it.
Do you think Goodreads has the same kind of reviewers cabal going on? I mean, I think
Goodreads has nothing but chaos going on.
Fucking ridiculous shit that people will say.
Nuts. I can't look at Goodreads. I will look at the Amazon reviews. You're not supposed to read the reviews and all that, but I still read, because I just kind of, I don't have beta readers, so those reviews will tell me something. I can take everything.
What are you, Microsoft? You use the audience as the purchaser as the beta reviewer?
Works. Dang Skippy, they pay me, damn it. But I stopped reading Goodreads because there's some crazy stuff over there.
Oh, it's wackadoo nuts. My favorite of all time, though, was the 50 Shades of Grey review that was like 4,000 words and used like 25 or 27 GIFs.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I think I've seen that
animated GIFs. Oh, it's hilarious. It is hilarious. Especially when she says something and then repeats a comment that the love interest, the female love interest in the book, says, and then it's got George Takei going, "Oh my!" It's like, apparently she uses those words a lot in the book.
Okay.
I wonder if somebody's ever counted how many times she said "inner goddess."
Somebody did put a count of all the different things that were said in various ways in that book. It is just wow, wow. And the same thing can be said for Twilight. It's got the same kind of dubious lists.
So Jake, being as you are, like, as far to the left as a human being can possibly go, do you find it challenging writing something post-apocalyptic where I know that, to cut sideways in that, I know that there are some people that write military science fiction or post-apocalyptic stuff like John Ringo and others like that they're pretty hard on liberal folks in there, that they blame them for the end of the world.
Right.
You blame the conservatives. I'm just curious.
I don't blame anybody. That's honestly.
I blame the morons. They're everywhere.
Exactly. But I mean, like a zombie apocalypse, who are you going to blame?
The Postal Service.
That's it. There you go.
Science. It's this round Earth conspiracy, man.
Yeah. No, I don't place blame or even put really much politics in my books. The characters are the characters, and they make the comments they make, and I've got liberal and conservative and progressive and regressive and all kinds of, I grew up in Oregon, which, is a blue state, definitely, but It's very rural. The vast majority
half is Cracker Central.
Oh, it's scary. I mean, you know, it's so. I mean,
there are banjos playing out there in our woods.
Oh, you get. I mean, you know, Pacific Northwest. You get out of the urban areas, and you're in the middle of Dixie. I mean, you really are. And I say that almost literally because. I mean, you know, a lot of the South migrated to the Pacific Northwest during the Depression because there was still timber. The timber boom was still going on. So there's a huge cultural shift that happened up there. And so, I mean, being able to look at different perspectives is not hard for me. Plus, it gets boring writing characters with the same perspective, you know, and philosophies as myself. I mean, I don't want to just put Jake clones on there. No one wants Jake clones in those books.
No.
So,
I'm making a note right now to put a Jake clone, literally to clone Jake in one of my novels.
Exactly, do that.
I still have him on. I don't think you're officially in the graveyard, but I have yet to kill you. It's
okay. Well, one day.
Give him an ear tag. Don't leave his feet.
Nice.
He's gonna have his missing ear stapled on the other side.
Yep. There you go. Just make sure make a note of which side. Okay, you gotta make that note. Don't get confused. Right, left. Damn it, where was I?
I've written one post-apocalyptic novel, and I'm going to, as soon as I finish with this project and the next Empire book, I'm going back and writing the next one. And I was leery when I started writing it, but going, oh, I just don't know what the audience. I'm not sure how they skew in this particular genre. I'm not sure what's going to happen here.
It's post-apocalyptic is kind of a funny readership that's in there because you definitely get a huge amount of the actual prepper demographic that reads a lot of the post-apocalyptic stuff. And what's funny is I actually know a few preppers here in North Carolina, and politically they skew the same as everybody else. Liberal, conservative, progressive, living in the dark ages, whatever. It's like, really, you can't, you know, they just believe they better be ready when it all falls to shit, because it's falling to shit, folks. It's
the end is coming.
Okay, yeah, I just know which bunker I'm going to go hang out in. That's all. It's like, yeah, I can hang with you. You're cool. Okay. A little off, but totally cool, you know. We'll work out the details in the bunker. We'll have plenty of time, so it'll be okay.
Well, that brings up a good question. When you're writing not just post-apocalyptic, but any of these genres, are there kind of like a list of characters that you have in mind? Do you find that they change depending on the genre, or is it just basically Jake pulling the crazies out of your head and putting them down on paper?
There's a little of both. But no, I mean, you know, they definitely, you know, it really, if you're going to set, like, you know, if I'm going to have a group of mech pilots, then they're going to have certain personalities. You know, they're going to be, you know, hotshot pilots, and there's going to be certain egos, and there's going to be conflicts with those egos, and you're going to have things like that. I mean, there's definitely, you can model anything set anywhere off of, you know, real life. And, you know, I've written a lot of military sci-fi, and I know a lot of people who are or have been in the military. And once again, their political and social philosophies are all over the map. I mean, they're people. People are people. So you're just going to have, it's just what personalities kind of work for the story. And then as other characters come in, it's, you know, conflict is what drives story. So who would be a good antagonist for this character? So then you can bring in the other side of it and a different point of view and a different attitude. And, you know, it just kind of builds on itself. So really, I mean, a good, especially, I mean, I tend to write a lot of, the majority, except for, you know, a few of my later novels, the Roke stuff is, you know, way more single POV. But I tend to write a lot of ensemble books. And so, you know, there's all kinds of different personalities and philosophies and, you know, and that cast of characters. And it's great to just mix it up, because it gets boring if you just do the same cookie cutter over and over and over again. Yeah. I mean, just as a writer, it gets boring. I mean, I'm sure it's boring for the reader. Although some readers, they want cookie cutter. They don't want you to go outside that box at all.
No, they want the same.
Robert.
Do not.
They
Ask Nora Roberts about that audience.
Yeah, they want the same formulaic,
Exactly.
You know, they always want the same ending. They want this, that, and the other. And I'm well aware.
There's that contingent. But otherwise, I mean, if I'm getting bored writing characters, then I know there's going to be a good amount of the readers that are bored. So I mix it up just because I want to be interested in what I'm writing.
You got to stay interested in what you're writing. I was recently reading a post-apocalyptic book, and I was getting into it pretty good, and then I suddenly realized that the author, not only was the characters portrayed in there, but the authorial voice was coming through, and it had the theme suddenly injected in the middle of the book of how the government wasn't legitimate. And I know that that's a real movement, and I'm like, oh, what kind of book did I just step into? Oh, should I tiptoe back away?
Was it an Orson Scott Card book? It was. It was an Orson Scott Card book.
It was not, actually. It was, I could look up the name of it, but it's a. I'll find the cover of it while we're talking. But no, it was not.
I literally had that exact same feeling because and I will say Orson Scott Card, younger. I read all the Ender books, all that kind of stuff, and I really didn't pay attention to what the politics of it was. And really, in a lot of the Enders, there's definitely a lot of politics, but it wasn't a, club over the head as much as some of the later stuff. And so I was like, hey, I'll get back into him. I started reading some of his later things. I was like, that's a neon sign just blinking that philosophy right there. Wow. This is going a different direction than I was expecting. Wow. I have not been paying attention to what's going on.
The name of the book was the name of the book was Survivors, and it was written by a man named James Wesley Rawls. And I found out later that he's actually a major contributor to a number of post-apocalyptic type sites. And I'm not getting into condemning his views on this. It's not one that I expected to run into when I started the novel because it didn't get injected in the beginning. It came in the middle, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. This is different than what I expected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm sure that there are folks that picked up Derelict expecting one thing and they got something completely different. And we're like just backing away as well, going, what in the hell is this? And probably refund immediately.
Give me my refund because this is bullshit.
I should go ahead and say before we get too much further that for those of you that may read that author, I'm not condemning the work or saying it was bad. It just came in unexpectedly in the story. So don't take this as criticism and come writing me nasty email. That's not what I was intending.
And you can write Terry a nasty email at.
Yep. Paul at.
No. Do not send this shit to me. Do not send this shit to show at debrobotSociety.com. Don't do that. I used it now.
Ding. But that's actually a good lesson. I think, for people listening, writers, you don't want to all of a sudden just pull your reader out by clubbing them over the head with some philosophy. I mean, if that's your philosophy, whatever it is, just like any good storytelling, you need to start foreshadowing a little earlier. You need to set the reader up so they're prepped for it. Otherwise, that big whammy is going to pull them completely out of the story, which is not what you ever want to do, no matter what you're trying to tell or whatever your political philosophies are. If you've got one, start at the beginning. Make sure there's hints, leave some breadcrumbs so that it's not a big, huge, what the hell did I just read?
So
put the gun on the shelf. Let people see that it's there before you use it.
Yeah, totally.
Extrapolating from this means I need to kill that scene in Derelict where there's the dancing hippo in space with the polka dot miniskirt.
Well, I think you need to totally keep that in.
Yeah, exactly.
Callie Moore had a little too much LSD. Dancing hippos in space. That way, I got to put that in the scene in one of my books. I just got to do it because it just seems like it'd be too ridiculous.
Yeah. Talking about putting the gun on the shelf reminded me of a story that William Shatner told of when he was doing live television. And he was in a murder mystery, and he was supposed to go ahead and grab a bag off of the mantle that had a gun in it and shoots someone. So he goes up to the mantle, he grabs the bag and looks in, and there's someone's sandwich inside the bag. So he puts the bag back down and goes and strangles the person instead.
Nice. There you go.
Well, I guess we're gonna have to do this the hard way.
Yeah, just shove that sandwich down their throat. Just
there you go.
Do that. I know.
You do a lot of stuff, at least in the older things. I have to admit, I haven't read anything years in a while. I can say the same thing about Terry. It's been a little difficult, but like with Mega and Zburbia as well, you have all this humor that goes on. How are you channeling that shit? I mean, basically with Zburbia, we've got this lunatic or a first-person narrator.
Yeah. He's a little off.
He's nuts.
He gets way worse too. You know.
Yes, he does.
Concussions will do that to you. So.
After the fourth or fifth book, there aren't too many neurons left firing.
Oh no, no. And that was a hell of a lot of fun. That was great when really realizing this guy's been knocked out so many times. I really need to incorporate that in the character because his brain is just jelly by this point.
And his brain wasn't exactly wired right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, I've always liked, black humor, dark humor, just, irony and all of that. So, I like juxtaposing horror with comedy. And they work well together because they really are kind of the same beats. You're either trying to make someone scream with the punchline or laugh with the punchline, whichever way it is.
And sometimes both.
Sometimes both. And so, they lend themselves. You can incorporate comedy into horror fairly easily. It also helps lighten the tension a little bit, which is good because then you can ratchet it back up again, without slowing the scene. So that's one thing. As long as you've set it right, so your characters and the story and everything, that the humor should be there, that the humor works. Just a random one-liner in the middle of a gunfight for no reason other than that's what Hollywood likes to do, especially in the 80s. That pulls the reader out instantly. Like, well, that didn't make any sense. But if it's the character who's just constantly a sarcastic blabbermouth through the entire thing, and they're just rattling off one-liners in the middle of a firefight, that works. You know? So.
And in Mega, you do that a lot with the twins. They're just
they just,
when they're not talking about they're not talking about brands of marijuana they're smoking, much to the dismay of their commanding officer, for lack of a better term. It just doesn't matter. No matter what's coming down the pike at them, they're always just got this stupid grin on their faces and making jokes.
Oh yeah, they're just loving life. They're just cracking up because really. It could all be over any second anyway. So, why not just enjoy it? And that's just his two brothers just bantering back and forth, over their comms as they're shooting the shit out of giant sharks. Come on.
There's a movie
jokes. Yeah.
There's a movie that I can't remember the title of that involved a bunch of spec ops hijackers or something like that boarding a cruise liner and finding it completely empty. So it's one of those kind of monster movies.
Oh, right.
And they're in an elevator going down with the elevator music or some music playing. And suddenly there's this noise. And one of them goes, "What's that?" And the guy in the back goes, names the song that's playing on the elevator. And everyone turns and looks at him.
See, in today's world, what you do is you have one of them scream, "Remix!" Sorry. Never mind. I'll go back to my corner and shut up now. Are you going to say something, Jake? Please say something.
No. I was just trying to remember what movie that is. I know what movie you're talking about. I remember.
Was it The Liner? Or, God, I don't know.
No.
I don't watch horror movies, so I just remember the teaser that I saw on television.
Yeah, I can't remember, but no, I remember that scene. So it's going to drive me nuts. I'm going to have to look that up.
But that's the kind of humor that I wish I could introduce into mine all the time, because it flows naturally and it's such a non sequitur. You're like, What?
Yeah.
No,
Well, I mean,
those-
honestly, it was funny. I was at Dragon Con, and we were talking about horror and monster movies and dark fiction and all this stuff. And I'm on the panel, and someone asks me, "Okay, you know, what do you consider if horror doesn't have to be supernatural? So what about, you know, Hitchcock?" And the guy named off, how would you classify The Birds, Psycho, and what is it, Trouble with Harry? And I'm like, well, The Birds is a monster movie. That's easy. The Birds are the monster. It's a flat out monster movie. I was like, you know, Psycho is a dark comedy, and everyone was like, wait, what?
Huh?
Like, no, seriously, it is actually. When Norman Bates is the greatest comedic character. I mean, the deadpan looks and the innocent shucks and all of that stuff that he does through that whole thing, it's actually absolutely hilarious. The look on his face when the first car, when he's putting it into the pond and it stops. It's just, I remember seeing that. I was like a young kid watching this on TV, and I just was like, oh, this is great. Wow, that's hilarious. Where he's just like, uh-oh, this isn't going to sink. Oh, dear.
Oh, dear, what do I do now?
I know, and I was just cracking up. So, and then Trouble with Harry is just total farce. And everyone was like, but it's Hitchcock. I'm like, you really, have you not seen anything about Hitchcock? Have you never watched any of his introductions to Hitchcock Presents? He's tongue-in-cheek
He's
entire
a
time. The entire time. It's all just gags and jokes and everything. So, yeah, it's...
It's gallows humor, but
Yeah.
it's still humor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we've had several lately anyway on the Facebook group asking about writing comedy.
Yeah.
And
They picked the wrong people to ask.
they picked the wrong people to ask. But at the same time, when Jake said it's got the same beats as horror does, he's absolutely right. It has those same pieces where you want to basically, stick a vision in the reader's head through the character's eyes and make them have a reaction, a very strong reaction. And humor, again, very... just kind of depends on how sick in the head you are.
Exactly.
I know for a fact Jake is pretty sick in the head, but then again, he'd say the same thing about me. So, we have our moments where we try and find something just damn funny and write it that way. And part of it is pulling something in that shouldn't belong.
Yeah.
I think that goes for horror too. You're putting in, you're weirding reality in some way, or you're weirding the interaction between people in some way.
Yeah.
And when somebody sits there and steps on a cockroach, and the other one sits there and looks at it, then just looks at him again, and then the guy lifts his shoe maybe, and you see that's not really a cockroach. The guy just thought it was a cockroach.
Right.
Those are those little moments where you can have a lot of fun with differing character reactions and things like that. And there are just those moments where you can just kind of pour that stuff in there and it works, but it has to be done kind of carefully.
It has to be done very carefully. I mean, it really is. It's just like, I mean, it is. Horror and comedy are, very similar that way, that you have to know what you're doing. I mean, it's a craft. And adding comedy into anything, whether it's action adventure or sci-fi or whatever the genre is, you better know how to tell a joke. You better know how to, because a joke is, and just like in horror, anything else, it's setting and setup and punchline. So you have to have the setting. The listener has to have a base. They have to have a comfort zone that they understand. Then you set them up. And usually, most jokes and things, you're going to have a little bit of misdirection, which is why juxtaposing it with horror is great, because that horror is that misdirection, or the comedy is the misdirection for the horror, whichever way you want to go. And then the punchline brings them back, and it all comes together, and it all fits. You have to have all those puzzle pieces working, and they have to be working basically almost simultaneously, except for that punchline, which caps it off at the very end. If you don't understand how that works, don't attempt attempts humor or comedy in your fiction, definitely don't do it, because you got to be willing. I mean, I've gone down in flames and just burned horribly. Jokes just failing bad. You have to have experienced that. Where you're just like, oh, well, that fell really flat. Okay, you got to know what doesn't work also. And there's just some genuinely unfunny people out there. So they don't realize that it's not working at any time. So they just keep saying the same jokes. And you're like, no.
Even being unfunny, you can still find a career in comedy. Just ask David Letterman.
Oh, that was cruel to mention him and comedy at the same time. That was just mean to all the comedy people out there.
Okay.
Yeah. So are there any writers you would recommend for that kind of stuff? Obviously, besides yourself, which I think if people want to see the kind of crazy we're talking about, they need to go read the first Suburbia book, and they need to go read the first Mega.
Yeah. I don't know. Off the top of my head, no. After this podcast, I'll be like, oh, I've got a list of 20. Yeah, of course.
I think Stephen King is was listening to it today while I was walking the dog, and there's a scene where 4 of the bad guys, the bully children, are lighting farts.
Right.
What could possibly go wrong?
Oh God, yeah. It is so bad. But at the same time, it touches that child puerile humor that is so beyond low. But when you're 11 or 12, it's funny as hell. And so he describes it as an 11 or 12-year-old would.
Right. Yeah, totally.
And that brings you back to those stupid moments where you did stupid stuff. And we all have. Maybe not lighting farts, but you've done something similar that's equally stupid, disgusting, because it seemed like the thing to do at the time.
Right, exactly. Seemed smart at the time.
Whoops, it seemed good at the time, but retrospect, wow, I'd really be embarrassed. I can't believe I did that.
You ever have one of those giant tractor tires? The inner tubes that you float along in?
I've never owned one of those, Terry.
Well, which one are we talking? Are you talking about the tractor tire or the inner tube?
The inner tube is what I'm referring to. Although I've had both. I've had both at the hospital.
Oh, yeah.
But the giant inner tube, I had one of those, and I lived on a hill. Allow me to assure you, letting your friends talk you into putting you in it and rolling you down the hill is not exactly the brightest idea.
Yeah.
Because you're kind of committed at that point.
In the inner tube, or because I've actually been in the giant truck tires, those huge, earth mover tires. I've been in one of those and gotten rolled down the hill. That's actually happened. And plus, also, I grew up, and went to elementary school in the late 70s and early 80s, so the entire, playground was made of those giant truck tires. Yep. Because apparently that was a great design idea.
It was cheap is what it was.
It was cheap as hell. Yeah, exactly.
And now we're all going to,
what could possibly go wrong?
And we're all going to die of PCB and rubber cancer from that shit.
Oh, not to mention the tetanus when the actual, steel belting started showing up, and those wires are massive.
And
like,
sharp as hell.
I slashed my hand open. Well, you shouldn't have been running around the tire.
Yeah,
you remember the compassion of
not stop playing with the tire. You should be more careful around the tire.
You shouldn't have grabbed that. Oh, sorry.
Boy, their idea of how to train kids back then is certainly different than it is nowadays.
No, it's much more Darwinian.
Yeah, exactly. I learned my lesson. I survived. So.
Yeah, now you basically pack them up in egg crates and send them out into the world. It's like,
exactly.
But in all fairness, if my folks knew I was jumping bikes at 9 or 10 years old over off huge ramps and then landing, and then one day I did it and the frame cracked in half on the bike because it wasn't made to do that.
Right, exactly.
If they had known that that's what was going on, my mother probably would have lost her freaking mind. I mean, seriously. You come home and you've got scrapes and blood all over you and everything else from a million different scratches. He was playing outside and fell down and, whatever. You don't tell mom that you were jumping and cracked your bike in half and then rolled for, tumble for a few feet. And your head hit a rock, and you're seeing triple, but it's okay. Everything's okay.
The 80s,
No,
the 70s and 80s. I miss them.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it.
That's a line in Parenthood. After the first one, you're all worried about them. The second one, you're less worried. The third one, you let juggle knives.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much.
I think we're missing something from childhood. So, and
there was some freedom in all that danger, though. I mean, that was great.
Yeah.
You just you just got kicked out of the house, and they were just like, "You're on your own now for the next."
Yeah, you're on your own.
Here's
your supply drop. Have a good time.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Don't forget to wear clean underwear. We're going to a mud pit.
Yeah.
Don't think it's gonna matter much.
If you get hit by a bus, what are people gonna think?
That you've shoved me out in front of it, Mom.
Yeah.
See, man, it's a smart ass. Yeah, I wouldn't remember anything if I'd said that to my mother. Yeah. So let's get back to other things. I guess we should talk a little bit about Black Box Inc. What is this book?
Aha. I don't know.
I think there's a conspiracy theory.
So long ago. Exactly. I've completely forgotten. No, it's urban fantasy, and it's kind of a as I like to write, a little misfit group. And basically, Black Box Inc. is a company that centers around Chase Lauder, and what he can do is he can manipulate the stuff that's between dimensions. Pretty much all the dimensions have opened up, and there's portals through. So instead of like parallel universes, there's actual dimensions, and all of the fairy tales and all your monsters and your classic, urban fantasy magic and stuff
real,
like that. Yeah. It's all real, because really everyone's kind of had glimpses of these other dimensions throughout the centuries. Now it's wide open. It's set in Asheville, North Carolina. So my tourist town that I live in here now has, Sasquatches and, fairies and vampires and everybody, that's coming from different dimensions to pay for overpriced craft beer and appetizers that, cost 10 times what an entree should. And all that.
And not to mention,
not at all.
Not to mention the Nazi HOAs during the zombie apocalypse.
There's
Let's not forget those.
Exactly. No, I don't like to pack my own gripes into my work at all.
No,
anyway,
not at all. Not at all.
What Chase can do is he handles the dim, and that is this black substance that he can pull from between the dimensions and shape into anything. And he likes to just make boxes because they're simple, they're easy, and you can hide stuff in them. And so he basically, with his zombie business manager, a ex-Fey assassin, and a shaved Yeti, who's really he's the handsomest person on the planet.
A shaved Yeti?
Once you shave those Yetis, they're just drop dead gorgeous.
Wow. I'm gonna have to ask where the hell that came from in your psyche later.
It's honestly, I wanted a ski bum kind of attitude, and he's totally like your snowboarder kind of dude.
YetiPorn.com. I'm registering that right now.
It's already taken.
He likes to Yetiscape, so he totally strips all that fur down. But they are Black Box Inc. And what the service they provide is literally Chase can make anything out of the dim, and he makes boxes. People hire them to hide stuff in the boxes, like safety deposit boxes, and he can banish those boxes back into the space between dimensions. He keeps a little piece as he uses as a key, which is kind of like a directional finder. So he knows he can feel that key, that piece of the dim, and know what box it goes to, retrieve them as, at will, or as the invoice is paid in full. And then basically it's just the hijinks and the adventures that they get into, because with he's the only one that has this ability. So with an ability like that, there's a lot of people or things from many dimensions, especially in the crime world, that would love to take advantage of that and use him for their own gains. So,
or try and get something that he hid for somebody else.
Exactly, stuff like that. Yep. So
here's a second one, so you can tag this idea down for some later one, later novel idea in there. if he's got something hidden that somebody doesn't want, if they kill him, no one else can possibly retrieve it.
Exactly, which is why he has a Fey assassin hanging out with him, keeping his ass from getting killed, and a 7-foot-tall shaved Yeti, because no one's really going to mess with that guy because he's 7 feet and
7
built
foot
like
tall
a shaved Yeti.
Shaved Yeti. I never thought I would hear these words mashed together.
Now, Paul, when you read that book, I want you to go ahead and envision the Yeti talking in Dolph Lundgren's voice.
Nice. No, it's definitely more surf bum snowboarder guy
In a Michael Jackson tone.
And, just watch X Games for an hour, and you're like, oh, there we go.
Is that where you got your dialogue from? Was X Games?
That's kind of how he talks. There's a lot of dude going on there.
A lot of dude.
A lot of dude.
Is it like sitting back, smoking joints the size of exhaust pipes?
He's just chilling. He's hanging out.
Just remember, dude can refer to anything. He, she, it, anything.
Oh, yeah. Anything. Oh, I know. I grew up on the West Coast.
It's a pejorative, an exclamation point, a noun, a verb.
I told my wife the other night that if I ever write a parenting book, it'll be called The Parenting of Dude. Because really, that's you don't have to really admonish your kids or say anything. You can just change your inflection and be like, dude. So there's positive reinforcement. Dude. There's negative, you can totally change it no matter what. Just using the word dude and the inflection. Dude. You're done. You're like, dude. Dude. The simple
He is dude. She is dude. The cat is dude. The car is dude.
Everything is dude.
The Parenting of Dude. That sounds like such an awesome book.
I know. I got to write it at some point.
That just sounds so awesome. I think that would be a bestseller instantly. The Parenting of Dude.
Seriously, there was no need to ground my kids in any way. I don't think my kids ever got grounded. They've never been grounded. Because all you have to do is go, dude. And then just walk away.
And they go, I fucked
And they're
up.
just like, oh, God, I got the dude. You just let them ground themselves. They just take care of it from there, You get a negative dude, and you're just like, oh, man, I totally messed up.
Yeah, Dad, my father has one of those looks where if you get that look, you fucked up.
Yeah.
Unless, as has happened when we are no longer teenagers, we try and get that look. We do our best to get that look as adults because
exactly.
It's funnier that way. When I was a child and I got that look, it was like, it's time to run. But, as an adult, it's like, yeah, I got him.
Yeah. Push that button.
Push that button. Yeah, there's that control panel with all these buttons. Let me play a little keyboard on that. Yeah. Because we're dumb that way. Of course, now Dad's 76. I can run faster than he can.
No, there you go. There's always that.
He can hit you with that walker.
He's not on a walker yet. Let's hope that doesn't happen for a few more years. But, if you break a hip, you get it rebuilt, and your knee's all jacked up, and you have to have that rebuilt. And pretty soon you're like the bionic freaking man. So, what could go wrong?
Yeah.
What could possibly go wrong?
Nothing.
On that note, Jake, thank you very much for joining us. It was always, as always, it was a real pleasure, even though you are my nemesis, and I hope you die horribly in a fire.
Yeah, I'll try and do that at some point.
And knowing
that'll be my parting gift to you.
And knowing you, it will be a dumpster fire because that's the way it's going to work.
Although, really, all the dumpster fires are occupied right now, so have to change. The landscape of the world is going to have to change. So one day dumpsters will become available to small people like me. Yeah,
we'll talk about that on the rest of the Patreon.
Okay,
we'll get to that in a minute.
Awesome.
In the meantime, we do have some business to take care of here. We have to say, go check out Jake's new book, Black Box Inc. Go check out Zburbia. Go check out Mega. Go check out all 14 bazillion books he's got on his author page.
You've got time. Go busy read. Go get some reading done.
Yeah, we'll leave a list of his bullshit in the show notes as well as his author page. Jake, where can we find you?
JakeBible.com. I make it easy for everybody. Yep.
JakeBible.com. There you go. And you have a Facebook author page as well, I imagine?
Yeah, Jake Bible's Wasteland. All the links are on JakeBible.com. That's just the easiest way to go. You can just click away there. Yep.
Good deal.
Yep.
Well, now that we've gotten that bullshit out of the way, if you would love to send us an email to talk about just how terrible this guest was, you can send it to show@deadrobotsociety.com. You can tweet us at Paul_E_Cooley, or you can post it on the listeners of the Dead Robot Society Facebook group where all the crazy happens. And we would be remiss if we didn't mention our wonderful host, Pod Hoster, who makes all 40 bazillion episodes of the Dead Robot Society available for your ear holes. If you would like to support this craziness, you can become a Patreon patron, whereas for as little as $1 a month, you can get early podcast episodes, live shows, unexpurgated, uncensored ones like this one, which will be continuing after
the pre-show.
The pre-show, the wonderful pre-show. I promise not much pornography. So go check us out there at patreon.com/DRS podcast. You can also find us at YouTube, our YouTube channel, youtube.com/DRS podcast. But first, before we go, I do have to mention the list of our $10 and up patrons, who are, as of right now, Robert Slade. You know what's coming, Terry.
Lay it on me.
Caleb smells like dirty meat pie, James. You didn't even get it right, Nathan. Nathan, do your balls hang low? Do they swing to and fro, Petty? It's wobble to and fro, man. Jeez. Through the black on ice, Bernardi. I am not writing that shit. John Kilgallen, Chris Winder, Isabel Cushy, Andre Conde Moraes, DJ Chamberlain, Jonathan Zarusin, J.R. Hanley, and Sue the Monster Whisperer Bayman. So thank you very much, our $10 patrons.
Once again, thanks for coming on and joining us, Telly Savalas.
I can't believe I started out the show like that. Oh,
anytime, kid.
Anytime, kid.
Who loves you, baby?
Who loves you?
All right, with that, we will say goodbye, folks. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.